In this special edition of Monsters and Mysteries, they may be the strangest, fear-inducing fiends ever to emerge from the outer edge. Mysterious men dressed in black.
The most troubling thing about the Men in Black phenomena is their covert nature. You never know when they're coming.
They're colorless. They're empty. You should be wary.
Are they part of some secret government agency, a shadow organization, or are they something weirder? Could they be aliens themselves?
There's evidence they may be the oldest evil there is.
You're looking at men who represent Satan, the Antichrist, and the false prophet.
This begs the question even more. Who are the real Men in Black?
We've recovered the details of one man's legendary encounter. The story in his own words, lost for decades.
And he told me that he was a searcher.
A searcher.
A searcher.
Now, for the first time, an entire episode steps into this dark domain to discover the real Men in Black. Discovering the true nature of the so-called Men in Black and their dark agenda is no easy task. The search could go back centuries and extend worldwide. The hunt could take you through scores of cultures, awash with stories of dark devils, demonic tricksters, and predatory vampires.
The Men in Black kind of look like pale-faced vampires. They look like ghouls. They look like something dug up out of the ground. They seem to attract or cause poltergeist activity. So you have an entire subculture that supports the demonic angle for the Men in Black.
In America, no area of Men in Black phenomena is more notorious than their connection to UFO activity.
Latest evidence in the saucer mystery are these exclusive motion picture films from Louisville, Kentucky.
For more than half a century, reports of aliens arriving from other planets have touched nearly every corner of America. Claims about these events are so numerous, they're difficult to ignore.
But I can't fathom it because it seems so unreal.
Yet investigating these reports is a step that may create dangers all its own.
Men in Black has kind of put a fear into my heart and soul, especially in my early days of research. In other words, stop it or you'll be sorry sort of syndrome. And that's pretty scary.
If you are an experiencer, I think you're going to be looking over your shoulder.
With some of the very first flying saucer events, Men in Black encounters emerged. June 1947, Puget Sound, Washington. Two harbor patrolmen, Harold Dahl and Fred Chrisman, were on a workboat when they observed unusual saucer-shaped aircraft in the sky.
What is that thing?
Think we ought to call it in?
What are we gonna say it is?
One of these objects was maneuvering in a very erratic and strange fashion. And it suddenly exploded in the sky, showering all this strange wreckage down into the harbor.
One of those objects dropped something down onto the ship, which actually killed a dog.
According to Chrisman and Dahl, after they returned to port, events got even stranger.
Gentlemen, perhaps you've seen the weather balloon?
Balloon?
It was a random weather balloon test.
Hey man, there was an explosion.
Easy mistake.
Easy mistake.
Nothing to be concerned about.
Dahl was approached by a real man in black, and he was threatened with his life. His family's life was threatened.
You will not speak of this to anyone.
Making it very, very clear that under no circumstances should he talk about this encounter.
You don't want to alarm anyone, do you?
This particular case is important because this was the very first man in black encounter in which a witness was threatened after having seen a UFO.
It also contained a key feature of the Men in Black.
You know, the G-men look. A thin tie, very well-pressed pants, black, overcoat.
Very often wearing fedora-style hats. So they do have this air of authority about them, which does give off kind of like a government angle.
These visits began occurring with regularity. Wherever a UFO event unfolds and someone starts asking questions, soon they realize they're the ones being investigated. For almost 50 years, Stan Gordon has been tracking UFO sightings around Pennsylvania. In the early 1970s, Western Pennsylvania seemed practically under assault.
We had this massive wave of UFO activity throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Actually, it was unprecedented.
All of a sudden, it was like an invasion. It was just report after report after report coming in. And once it got up into the hundreds of reports and thousands of people in this region, I mean, it became serious business. Like, what the heck is this?
It was in the midst of all the UFO sightings that Stan got the first clues the Men in Black were tracking him. August 24th, 1973. At a trailer park in Derry, Pennsylvania, something had just unfolded. Something out of this world.
So when we get on the scene, we interview the family involved and some of the other neighbors who experienced what happened that night. It was very apparent these people were frightened and very, very upset over what they had experienced. You could see the emotion. They had seen something that wasn't supposed to exist. We found out that this woman and her son were inside of their trailer. From the back of the trailer, they heard scratching sounds. And also what sounded like baby crying sounds. They're very close range. She sees this very tall humanoid creature, wide-shouldered, over 6 foot tall. They were very, very frightened.
It must have been attracted to the trailer's electrical supply. Right after, the woman's power shuts off. The creature departed, but left some residue behind. The woman's screams drew the attention of neighbors, who immediately called the police.
Hey, we've got a pretty big...
And when the police get out there, they find what appeared to be some footprints that are very unusual.
Even more unusual, the Men in Black that arrived soon after. Later that night, Stan Gordon received an urgent call.
I'm on the line, and the operator breaks in with an emergency call.
Hello, Stan?
And the emergency call happened to be from the woman who lived in that mobile home. She said,
someone came to my home.
This man here wanted to talk to her about seeing the creature that night.
Did the creature leave any evidence?
Something on the doorknob. Stan told me to keep it.
Who?
He said he was with you.
He indicated that he knew me.
I work with Stan.
which of course that wasn't the case.
It's okay to give it to me.
And if she gave him the samples, he would get them to me.
You never knew when the men in black were going to show up, and you never knew how they got their information.
He took the sample?
He took everything.
He's not with us.
I'm sorry.
Probably any serious person studying UFOs in that era would have had some at least basic fear that the men in black were always one step away.
This is all particularly unnerving for the witnesses because the big question is, what's going to happen next? Is the man in black going to come back?
Imagine the unbelievable. Witnessing firsthand an unidentified flying object. As if a UFO encounter isn't shocking enough. For years, stories have circulated about witnesses getting visits from men in black.
Gentlemen, perhaps you've seen the weather balloon?
The files of UFO researcher Stan Gordon include many investigations suddenly derailed. There's the 1973 case of an apparent alien encounter at a trailer park in southern Pennsylvania.
And there's a young boy there, and he's taking Polaroid pictures of the footprints.
Just then, a strange, dark-suited man arrived.
I just took a picture.
You just took us a picture.
And he makes some kind of an odd comment like, it has been destroyed. My reaction was the concern of who was this man, where did he come from, where are the samples, why did he destroy the evidence at the scene?
One of the most disconcerting and baffling aspects of the Men in Black mystery is that even if you don't tell anyone about your encounter, the Men in Black still find out about it. And that can lead to intimidating phone calls, people being followed, and even telephone monitoring.
And with MIBs, it can get much worse.
I believe men in black are to be feared. If they tell you to do something and you don't listen to what they tell you, they will do anything to get their way, even kill you. I believe they would kill you if they had the opportunity.
Stan Gordon has seen just how intimidating the Men in Black can be. One of his most terrifying cases unfolded in October of 1973 at a Pennsylvania farm.
And what I find out is that about 9 o'clock that night, they see this large object about as big as a barn, a big round red sphere, about 100 feet off the ground and hovering.
As the glowing orb descended on the farm, Steve Geiger and his two cousins set off towards a pasture.
This thing's maybe about 100 feet or so in diameter, and it's illuminating the whole area. And then their attention is drawn to two huge humanoid figures walking in their direction. They get a really good look at them.
The creatures that Steve described were very, very strange. 7 to 9 feet tall, arms hanging down past their knees, and they had these weird self-illuminating eyes.
There's that flash of light. fires that second shot, the object in the field disappears. It just vanishes from sight.
He had seen an alien spacecraft and creatures that couldn't be from Earth.
And I remember what Steve always said to me. He said he never forget how those glowing eyes just kept staring at him. And he said, look, I've been hunting all my life. He said, I know I hit it. I know I hit that big creature, but there was no effect on it whatsoever.
While Men in Black don't pursue each and every witness, clearly, this farmer had seen too much.
Here was a guy that had a very, very close encounter. He was the one that they picked.
I'm going to help you remember.
For decades, America has been awash with rumors of mysterious men in black. Hovering, hard to define, yet spreading the word, we're watching you.
When it comes to the Men in Black, what we do know is that UFO witnesses are being actively monitored, watched, and threatened, and that's very frightening for them.
It's a scenario that Stan Gordon discovered back in the 1970s, when he first started tracking UFO reports. Case in point, one night in October 1973, Stan received an urgent call about an alien encounter at a farm.
Like fluorescent green. You can see these marks here. We were sitting on the porch.
State troopers were on the scene.
The ground is like bright green, so I grabbed my shotgun.
And what the trooper tells me is where the object had been on the ground, that whole area is now self-luminescent and glowing. 100, maybe 150 feet or so in diameter, he estimated. The light coming up from the glowing area is coming up about 12 inches off the ground.
Just appeared out of the woods.
By the time we got there,
and his eyes were glowing.
The farm animal still wouldn't go anywhere near that area.
As the days passed, Stan Gordon stayed in touch with the farmer, Steve Geiger.
And we talked to him about the possibility of doing hypnosis, and he kind of looked at us a little funny and said, why do you want to hypnotize me again? And we said, Steve, we never hypnotized you.
As Stan would learn shortly after the UFO incident, Steve was visited by two strange men. One dressed in an Air Force uniform, the other a black suit.
He always assumed they were connected to my research group. These men wanted to, again, do a thorough investigation with him. They want to go over all the details with him.
After that, this farmer's world turned upside down.
This isn't happening.
I'm going to help you remember.
Hypnotic techniques were applied.
Is this what you saw?
You're not crazy. Everything is perfectly normal. It's really not even worth mentioning to anyone.
And they told him he wasn't crazy, that he saw what he saw, that they would be in touch. But that was the last they ever heard from him. Right away, we knew something unusual had occurred. We had never hypnotized him. None of the people associated with our research group had hypnotized him, and we wanted to find out what was he talking about.
That was just one way of kind of containing it. How else could you take just somebody from the general population? How do you suppress them? You threaten them.
According to those who knew him, the man never got over the trauma.
I didn't doubt the fact that he had a visit by these quote-unquote men in black. I'm sure it was hard for him to get past. Anyone that would have to go through an experience like that, it has a long-lasting effect.
Paranormal researcher Clyde Lewis has no doubts about the men in black.
They're the cleanup crew. They're the guys behind the curtain. So when things get out of hand, whether a UFO sighting or an exotic aircraft is seen that nobody's supposed to see or something, they'll show up and they'll tell you, they'll tell you that this is something that you're not supposed to be dealing with.
After these investigations, Stan realized what he was up against. In short order, witnesses forget their stories, misplace evidence. They never saw anything.
Some of these cases seem to suggest a possibility that there may indeed be a government agency that continues to investigate UFOs at a very high secretive level, and they're out there doing interviews and gathering evidence. So there was that big question still remained: who were these men? Why did they want to interview the witness, and what were they going to do with the information?
They may even welcome word of their special brand of terror to trickle out, sending the message, you could be next.
Since 1947, there have been literally hundreds of Men in Black reports all around the world. The US government's official stance on the Men in Black is that the mystery is nothing to do with them. This begs the question even more: who are the real Men in Black?
Some are certain the Men in Black must be from the government. Other clues suggest the mystery goes much deeper, to a shadowy group whose identities may go beyond this world and this point in time. In West Virginia, on the night of November 2nd, 1966, a sewing machine salesman named Woody Derenberger was driving home. His story has been among the most discussed cases in the Men in Black phenomenon. Lost for decades, audio tapes of his original testimony were recently recovered.
I never have believed in flying saucers before. I honestly never did believe in it.
Do you believe in them now?
I believe in what I seen last night. I believe it was an alien.
Far from their Hollywood persona are the stories of real Men in Black. Secretive, sinister, and according to some investigators, they may be extraterrestrials or time travelers from another dimension. That might explain why Men in Black are sometimes seen with odd physical features, as if these aliens haven't quite mastered the human form.
Pale skin, tight lips, bulging eyes. They look emaciated, they look anemic. They don't really look human.
One such case centered on an encounter with a time-traveling man in black. A mysterious figure with a terrifying grin. Within the Appalachian Mountains is the small West Virginia town of Parkersburg. November 2nd, 1966. Sewing machine salesman Woody Derenberger was driving through the area. His experience that night would turn any investigation of Men in Black in an entirely different direction.
Mr. Derenberger, in your own words, would you please relate what happened last night?
Long-lost tapes from a radio interview he did the very next day reveal a man profoundly affected by the encounter.
Well, I am a salesman, and I drive a truck. And last night, Shortly after 7 o'clock, I was coming from Marietta, Ohio.
The evening started out like many others, a long journey home after work. A family man, Woody had a loving wife and 2 children.
Mom and Dad always got along really well. People would call us the Cleavers because of how well our family acted.
This night would alter his life and that of his family's forever.
I was coming down Interstate 77.
He heard a noise in the back of the truck, and he was afraid one of the sewing machines had fallen over.
Then, a spacecraft, big as life, landed directly in front of his truck. Forced to stop, Woody might have thought he was dreaming. A door slid open on the side of the craft, and what looked like a man stepped out.
And this man came directly to me. His top was zippered down the front.
He had on a black top coat. Underneath that top coat, he said you could see like a glistening kind of material.
This man had an unusual, spooky-looking grin on his face. Struck my father as being scary.
Who are you? Woody? Do you have a family? Yes.
Somehow, Woody was hearing the grinning man speak.
And as far as I understand, this was all mental. There were no spoken words that came from him. I knew what he was asking me.
And that's what scared Dad first, because he couldn't understand how he's hearing words. This man is talking, but he's not opening his mouth. And he told my father that he was a type of a scout.
He told me that he was a searcher.
A searcher?
A searcher.
He asked him a lot of questions, searching for information, searching to see what's going on Earth.
Collecting information basic to the Men in Black phenomenon. Finally, Woody managed a question of his own.
Dad said, "Well, who are you?"
Cold. Injured cold.
The hatch opened. It hovered there for just a few seconds, and then it shot away at a very high rate of speed.
And he said to me, "We will see you again."
"We will see you again. We're coming back to see you, Woody Derenberger," said Indrid Cold. "I'm coming back." And that's the thing that Mr. Derenberger said frightened him the most, was that they were going to come back.
He said, "We will see you again."
Do you believe he will?
I'm afraid he will. I don't want him to, but I have a feeling that he will.
Men in Black. They appear with disturbing regularity, spreading paranoia and fear. What is their true agenda? In 1966, salesman Woody Derenberger came face to face with a most peculiar man in black. And the encounter was just the first of many extraordinary visits.
He said, "Mr. Derenberger, we will be seeing you again."
You believe he will?
I'm afraid he will, and I don't want him to, but I have a feeling that he will.
Woody's daughter, Tanya Bowman, was a young child at the time and remembers her father returning home that night.
When he walked through the door, we all knew Dad was home. He was white as a sheet. And I've never seen Dad like that. And nothing ever scared my father. My father was a big guy.
Mrs. Derenberger said that when he came home, he could not have been any whiter if he had been lying in a coffin. He looked like a dead body.
Daddy, what's wrong?
Get to bed now.
He told my brother and I that we had to go upstairs and go to bed. So I snuck downstairs and listened to my dad telling my mom the events that happened.
You're not gonna believe what happened to me today.
Mom told Dad that if he was trying to scare her.
It's working.
This is what happened.
That's when Mom picked the phone up and called the sheriff's department.
Over the next few years, Indrid Cold, the grinning man, would drop in on the Derenbergers, sometimes bringing other visitors, also dressed in black.
Where did you guys come from?
Indrid Cold knew where we lived. He would pop up in weird places and then disappear.
Bring Tanya inside, please.
And it was at that point that I wasn't even hardly allowed to play outside because of all the strangers in the area.
Tanya, come here.
When it comes to the comparisons between Indrid Cold and the Men in Black, there are actually a number of interesting similarities. There's the grinning factor and also the black top coat. There's the fact that Cold kept coming back to the family home. Mrs. Derenberger, for example, was somewhat concerned by this.
Men in Black have made repeated visits to prominent UFO researchers. The effect of these meetings on Woody Derenberger was life-changing.
What was most fascinating was that in the wake of these events, Derenberger began to develop very keen senses of ESP. This totally freaked his wife out because he was able to tell her, say for example, if she was out shopping, who she spoke to, where she went, what she'd bought at the store, things like that.
We're dealing with some type of otherworldly, non-human beings who were interacting with this guy, causing him to have all kinds of odd things happen to him.
In the late 1960s, there were at least 4 separate sightings of the grinning man in black. It raises the question, who really was Indrid Cold? And what was his agenda?
He was another sort of an MIB, Indrid Cold. He is there to tell you that something is about to happen. These guys, they see themselves as custodians. They see themselves as being part of, pushing our evolution in the right direction.
In this view, the Men in Black have always been around, secretly shaping events on Earth.
Who are they? Who are they? I believe that they come back and they check on, progress. So if I had to say who Indrid Cold was, I would say Indrid Cold was probably our brother from another world.
While some imagine Men in Black are benevolent guardians, other clues point to a much darker agenda.
What's particularly interesting about the majority of Men in Black reports, and in a fashion parallels with the Indrid Cold story, is that people get a sense of dread from them. And also there are a number of reports where the Men in Black are seen grinning. Most people are very scared and intimidated by the Men in Black, not just by their threats, but by the way they look. They sort of look like pale-faced ghouls or vampires.
Now, there's evidence the Men in Black might be even scarier than imagined. The oldest evil there is. Demons called forth by the devil himself. Lincoln, Nebraska. Reverend Dr. Ray Boucher is an ordained pastor of 25 years and a paranormal investigator.
I'd investigated cases, numerous cases, of people who'd had these kinds of encounters. I never expected that something like that would happen to myself.
One afternoon in 1987, Boucher and two colleagues began searching through files documenting an infamous Men in Black case. Dr. Herbert Hopkins was a respected psychiatrist who had performed hypnosis sessions on clients claiming to encounter Men in Black.
Good evening, Dr. Hopkins. I need to speak with you about your work.
This individual, dressed in a black suit, begins to question him generally about this UFO case. Very tall, very thin.
These tapes are of no use to you. They need to be expunged.
This odd individual began to tell Dr. Hopkins that he shouldn't investigate this. He should leave this alone.
Do you see the coin?
And so Dr. Hopkins begins to look at the coin in his hand.
This man in black was threatening to do more than destroy evidence.
The stranger says, if you don't leave this case alone, that's what will happen to your heart.
Destroy the tapes, Dr. Hopkins.
That was the threat that was made by the Man in Black to Dr. Hopkins. If you continue, I'll cause your heart to vanish. Dr. Hopkins was, again, absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrified. And he followed the stranger's instructions and burned all of his records, burned his tapes of the hypnosis sessions and so on, and was extraordinarily traumatized by that event.
Going through Hopkins' papers would launch Reverend Boucher into his own terrifying encounter with the demonic Man in Black.
What's happening? Oh my gosh.
And we sat there with our eyes fixed straight ahead. It was this incredible wave of terror that gripped all three of us.
Rumors of Men in Black continue to circulate, their origins unknown. Some suggest these dark figures are much more sinister than we ever thought.
The biggest thing that appears to put them in the realm of the demonic is the fact that they seem to be more of a spiritual being in nature, a supernatural being, and threats that seem to carry very much a sense of malevolence.
Just this sort of Men in Black recently crossed paths with Clyde Lewis, host of a popular paranormal radio show.
That encounter was bizarre. He had a black hat, he had a black overcoat, white shirt, black tie, and he didn't look like he belonged there.
Hey, mister. Can I bum a cigarette?
I don't smoke.
Whatever.
Then he was gone. He had disappeared. I figured, oh my gosh, these guys are following me. Or they're observing me, something's going on. And it was very unnerving.
Clyde had every reason to feel apprehensive.
I tried to take a picture of him with my cell phone, and when I snapped the picture, and I had it right on him. I put my cell phone on the guy, tried to snap the picture. He's not there. And it just, I thought, how can that happen? How can I put my cell phone right there, arms away, snap the pic, nothing. And I was blown away.
A man in black suddenly vanishing is one thing. It's even worse when he unexpectedly appears. One night in 1987, in Lincoln, Nebraska, Reverend Boucher and two colleagues were researching accounts of Men in Black encounters.
We were at a long table, and we were sorting through these documents into some kind of rational order so we could really begin to examine them.
Yeah, exactly like it says in the book.
And as we sat there, I began to be aware of just a very uneasy feeling.
It may have been unwise to delve too deeply into the misdeeds of the Men in Black. The evil documented in those files came to life directly before them.
It was this incredible wave of terror that gripped all three of us. And we just sat there, unable to move.
Satisfied it had terrified its victims, this demonic man in black vanished into thin air.
When three of us have exactly the same experience at exactly the same time, in exactly the same circumstances, it begins to make me wonder, what sort of external force came into play there to cause this to happen. Something the three of us never forgot. We'd never forgotten that.
What the heck was that?
I have no idea.
After this harrowing encounter, Reverend Boucher suspended the group's research into the Men in Black.
It is definitely a traumatic event that no one wants to remember, no one wants to talk about, and everyone who's experienced it wishes they could forget. And the scars never go away. They never go away.
That lingering memory, a sense of profound dread, etched in your mind, seems to be a universal feature of the Men in Black phenomenon.
These cases are definitely not hoaxes or hallucinations. Too many people have had credible encounters that are very similar to each other.
It's something that is very psychologically scarring. It's almost as if you had been stalked by a psychopath. And you never get over that. Very much the same thing with the Men in Black.
They're not comic book characters found in a Steven Spielberg movie. They're real individuals. They are here to observe us. They move about in a clandestine way, and they may even have contact or may even are in cahoots with perhaps a satanic path. Beware, MIBs are real.